I've been in the tech business for over 10 years now myself. In fact, including my corporate experience in tech, about 20 years. I've been a successful app founder myself. I bootstrapped one startup. I also raised capital and took a company public with over $5 million in funding. And today I've helped launch over 300 apps. Over the years, I've observed what makes these tech CEOs succeed and what separates them from the ones who struggle. I've analyzed other founders, of course, my own mistakes, and these patterns I keep seeing over and over again. So here are the 15 lessons that I really wish that I had understood earlier. If I had known these before, I would have gotten to where I am 10 times faster. All right, let's jump in. Here's number one. Starting a tech company might be the hardest kind of company to start. And I say that being somebody who's got a ton of experience in it and could probably do it with my eyes closed and my hands tied. The perception that people have is, I had this moment of inspiration, I had this breakthrough idea, and got this awesome product, so I'm gonna build it, and when people see it, it's gonna absolutely explode because it's so awesome, because it came from your strike of inspiration. Now, your strike of inspiration is not a bad thing. In fact, that's a great thing. That's the initial catalyst that gets you to go and start building. But I'm gonna be the one who says what most people are not willing to say. That does not mean that it's gonna be a success, and most of the startups don't succeed. So I'm gonna tell you how you can fit into that 10%, not that 90% who fail. Running an app company is actually a very complex business. It's extremely technical. Even though it's a mature industry, it doesn't make it easy. The processes are established and, in my opinion, quite simple if you understand them, but that doesn't mean it's easy. And what adds insult to injury here is a lot of people getting into this space don't actually do the adequate research. And it's not because they're not smart or because they're not hardworking, it's because they don't know what to research. So if you're watching this video, you are part of that 1% audience who is actually proactively out there gathering knowledge and gaining context for yourself so you can figure out where you fit into this puzzle. And so kudos to you for watching this. But no amount of research and no amount of preparation is going to actually set you up for what it's actually going to be like running a tech company. I'm going to go into a lot more depth on all the different aspects that make it difficult in this video. I'm going to give you simple strategies that you can apply today and avoid these common pitfalls that people are making. But just understand that this is a difficult industry. It is the most competitive space next to maybe marketing agencies, which I have worked in that space too, and trust me, anybody can succeed in it. Just because it's a competitive industry doesn't mean you can't succeed. But what it does mean is that you are fighting the competition at a whole new level. It is incredibly aggressive, it is fast changing, and it's very hard to keep up with unless you're completely immersed in it. So understand that if you're getting into tech and you haven't worked in this space before, it is not going to be like anything you've done in the past. And a lot of the rules are going to be very counterintuitive. The stuff that's going to make you succeed is not what you would think it would be. For example, a great product doesn't mean the company is going to be successful. $1 million in funding doesn't mean the company is going to be successful. I just told you guys about another case study where this founder raised $800,000 and he's got $200K left in the bank and we're only 3 months into the launch. $1 million didn't solve his problem. And guess what? That guy is a founder coming from another industry who obviously raised a substantial amount of money. He had a $100 million company before and he's struggling with this tech startup. Again, no judgment. It's just the nature and the reality of this business. It's difficult if you do not have the roadmap. And I am going to give you the roadmap that has worked for over 300 startups if you're just willing to actually read it. All the best knowledge is out there for you to have. In fact, if you comment roadmap right now, I will send you a 20-page playbook on every step from launching the app to monetizing it to going viral to raising capital. And it'll be yours completely free. And I don't think that's an issue, giving it away for free. I give away my best knowledge for free, hoping that some founders will actually do something with it. But the truth is 99% don't actually do anything with it. So be the 1% and do something with it. Take action. That's what's going to set you apart. When I'm out watching YouTube videos, what do you think I'm doing? I'm taking notes into my ClickUp, into my task list, actions that I'm going to do straight from that video. In fact, I don't watch YouTube videos unless I'm taking action items from them. If I'm just passively listening, I will just turn it off. I'd rather just have the peace of mind and the quiet. So make sure you're taking notes. Make sure you're going to take action from this video so you actually get value out of it, not just perceptual value or inspiration, because that doesn't actually deliver revenue. Okay, number 2, every app starts with the shit retention rate. You don't have to feel bad if your product has 0 retention at the beginning. In fact, all of them start out that way. They also all start out with 0 users, and you don't have to feel bad about that. Understand that these are all natural processes that happen in the founding of an app company. Okay, so retention is the problem, and we know that a lot of, especially sales-oriented, market-oriented people, they want to build the growth engine first. Well, yes, you absolutely have to build a growth engine, but the tough reality, and part of what makes being a tech founder difficult, is that you have to build a great acquisition system and a great retention system simultaneously. It's not one or the other. Now, you build the acquisition system, then you go work on retention while the acquisition engine is running. But again, you're still gonna have to feed those insights back and optimize the acquisition engine. So it's not as simple as being good or being fast. It's about being good and fast. Again, these are the concepts that make it difficult to be a tech founder. Why? Because you got these brilliant people in San Francisco who are autist level of smart, and these people who are like top 1% IQ people backed by hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. Those are the people you're competing with. So you have to understand that before you get into it. But that doesn't mean you can't win. You just have to understand the principles that they're applying and then replicate them. And one of those principles is building a product that retains like a motherfucker. Pardon my language. So how do you do this? You need to map out the core user journey. You need to understand what steps somebody's going to take in your app to accomplish their goal. For example, we have one app we're launching that is like Uber for getting a photographer. Okay, the user sees an ad, they click, they sign up as a photographer or they sign up as a customer, and then they make their first booking and so on. You need to map out those steps so that you understand your exact user journey so that you can optimize it, so that you can capture data at the various steps and make sure that you're not losing your users due to a given screen or some kind of bug or a crash or something like that. That's understanding your retention. It's not just about getting somebody to download the app. You have to activate them. So you have to take them through an onboarding process and through a registration process after they download. And people just overlook that. They don't think about it. And most of the time when I do see an onboarding built into the app, it's just like 3 screens that have a little bit of header text and body text, and then it's like, okay, go to the next. People just skip through those. They're not actually doing them. And I'm going to talk a lot more about the onboarding experience because that is the number one hole that I see in apps today. But just for now, understand that you need to build your products for retention, okay? So however that looks, whether that's email, SMS, and retention marketing, whether that's the in-product experience, how you're doing your pricing and packaging. Are you doing 30-day terms? Are you doing 14-day terms? Are you doing 3-day trials, 7-day trials? All these things affect retention. Of course, the product experience itself. Now let's talk a little bit more about that. So you have your onboarding experience, or hopefully you do. If you don't, you're gonna need one, but don't worry, I'm gonna tell you how in this video. You're gonna map out the steps of the onboarding. Step 1 is the splash screen. That's where you're gonna put the hook, the massive value that's going to hook users in and pull them to the next stage. On step 2, you're going to ask what brings you here today, which is the problem. Step 3, you're going to provide the solution. Step 4, you're going to actually activate that solution. So let's just say you have a breathwork app. Hey, what brings you here? I want to reduce anxiety and sleep better. Okay, that's your problem statement. Your solution statement is great. We have 3 types of meditations for reducing anxiety and better sleep. Let's go ahead and give one a try now. So that's what the activate is. You're going to go ahead and jump in and do a 3-minute meditation with me right now. You want to activate the user in that onboarding. Remember, we're going to talk a lot more about this, but I'm just trying to map out the steps that you need to track in order to see if your app is actually retaining people. So after you activate the user, then you're going to provide social proof and a CTA, okay? Call to action. On that CTA, you're going to offer them a 7-day trial. I'm just giving you an example here, but this is our standard process for it. You're going to ask them to sign up, put a credit card down, and then get billed in 7 days. During that 7 days, of course, they're going to use the app. They're going to see the value. They're going to be excited about it. They're going to retain, okay? So that onboarding sequence is 6 steps long, and it activates the user in real time. You need tracking events set up for stages 1 through 6 so that you can see on screen 1, we had 100% of people. On screen 2, we had 80%. On screen 3, we had 60%. And then boom, on screen 4, oh, we only have 10%. Major drop off, 50% drop off, or 90% drop off in users. And then you're going to look at that screen and you're going to see, why did everybody drop off on that screen? Oh, that was the call to action screen. Maybe we're pricing it too highly, or maybe we're not providing enough social proof, or maybe we didn't establish the solution and the value good enough on the prior screen, okay? So that's how you're going to track your retention. You need to go through the whole user journey of the onboarding, and after onboarding, when they land on the splash screen, on the home screen, you're going to need to activate that user post facto, right? Because after they go through that onboarding, then they're going to have an account set up, they're going to have tried the app, they're going to be excited about it, and they've got their free trial started. But when they land on the home screen, what happens? Most founders, they just put a bunch of buttons and menus and all kinds of stuff on the home screen. They don't think through it at all. You're going to need to design that home screen for retention. How do you do that? The simple answer is you provide one clear button of where to go next. You don't want the user to have 2, 3, 4 options of where to click next. Think about it like this. Make your screen, put one big orange button of where to go next, okay? If it's a goals app, generate my goals plan. If it's a meditation app, do my first meditation. If it's a photography app, take my first photo. You see what I'm saying? So you need to activate them after the fact, and that's what's going to lead to retention. So you get them excited during the onboarding process, get them registered and activated, and then boom, once they hit the home screen, then you're going to retain them through the product's functionality. And then later on, you'll add on stuff like the email and SMS and push notifications. But for now, you have to make sure that your product activates them on the very first time that they use it. That is how you have good retention. So as soon as you got your acquisition funnel up and going, you got your growth engine plugged in, then you need to start working on the product. You need to have the acquisition funnel in first place so that you can get those first 100 or those those first 1,000 users so that you can actually measure the data in the onboarding and in the first time user experience and the actual activation of those users. You have to have that data in place. So therefore you need users. And this is why I pretty much keep ads or some kind of marketing on throughout the life of the company as I'm building it, because you need to constantly be validating and tracking the data of how people are using the app. And if you don't have new people coming in, old people who lost interest in it because the product sucked at the beginning are not going to come back. So you need to be bringing new users in all the time. That keeps your data fresh, that keeps it accurate, and then you can make strategic decisions on that data. Okay, let's keep moving. Sorry, I'm like very obsessed with this stuff, so it's very easy for me to go really deep, but I need to make sure that I'm being succinct with you so that we can get through all the content. So my apologies there. Okay, number 3 is invest every dollar back into the business. People seem to think that I can get my app profitable in 3 months, and then within 6 months, I'm going to be making 10K, 100K a month, something like that. Well, the truth is that's not really how business works. The reason startups historically have raised millions in capital is because these businesses do not produce much income up front. Even if you're profitable after 3 months, you're not really going to be making that much money. Let me just give you a quick scenario here. Let's just say within 3 months, you're generating $10,000 a month in revenue. Well, your devs cost $5K a month, your ads cost $3K a month, and you're left with $2,000 in gross profit. If you invest all that back into growth, well, how much are you gonna have? Not a ton, right? You got a $2,000 marketing budget. Now, if you're investing that all back in growth, it can start to accumulate quite quickly over time. But if you're taking it out of the business to pay yourself a salary, or if you're investing it in other stuff like building out your website or legal or whatever else, you're cutting off the oxygen to your own company. You need to invest every dollar back into the business because you're working on low margins in the first place. If you haven't raised capital and you're just reinvesting off of the profits, it's going to take a bit of time to get this thing really making decent money because you're working with this little snowball in the summer and you're trying to build the snowball up over time. And that can take 6, 12 months, sometimes years. I mean, a lot of startups didn't even get profitable for years. Uber, Twitter, both IPO when they were not profitable. So the idea of getting profitable, yes, you can get it on a unit economics basis, but if you want to grow the app fast, it's not really going to be enough to make the company explode right away unless you're really investing every dollar back into the company. That's why when I'm starting an app company, I always set aside $50,000 or $100,000 just for marketing so that I can guilt-free invest that into growth only, not into product, but into growth. If I had to choose, I put 70% into marketing and 30% into product. Why? Because product learns from the marketing. We don't learn what users want unless we have users on the platform, and marketing is how we get users on the platform. So let's just say you raised capital. How much should you be investing in marketing? Pre-profitability, I invest about $3,000 to $5,000 in ads per month during the pre-profitability stage. Once I get profitable, then I just hit the gas and I invest as much as I possibly can. But every situation is different. So if you want, me to give you a personalized solution, just click the link on our YouTube. You can set up a call with our team and they'll design a personalized strategy for you. Okay, let's keep moving here. It's tough to get profitable on software businesses. They are typically low ticket and they build leverage and accumulation over time, meaning that's why people raise investment. It accelerates that process to getting profitable much faster. And historically, tech companies have taken 12, 24 months, sometimes longer to get profitable. Now, if you use our process, which is called the above framework, then you can get profitable. Some apps get profitable in the first month. Other ones take about 2-3 months. But either way, it accelerates it dramatically because we go through this split testing process and it's a very controlled, measured approach to getting profitable. Either way, bottom line is you got to invest the money back in the business. Do not starve the company of its oxygen, which is the revenue and the cash flow. So now you're wondering, okay, how do I generate cash flow? That takes me to number 4, which is you want to front load your pricing and revenue. So what do I mean by front load your revenue? Let's just say that you have a habits app, which costs $10 a month, for staying on your habits. If you're targeting the general marketplace, you can charge somewhere from $5 to $10. Let's just say you're targeting salespeople who you're going to improve their sales results through better habits. Maybe they're meditating, taking notes, journaling, reviewing sales calls, whatever else, and they can close one more transaction per month that leads to $1,000 in commissions. Well, all of a sudden you can now charge $100 for that product that in the general market was commanding $10. That's the power of niching. Same situation. You got a doctor who's taking notes. If he avoids an accident and a malpractice lawsuit, that could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to him. So yeah, he's going to be willing to pay $100 for something that improves his habits. So now you understand the principle of how to command more revenue from your app. Now let's talk about how to front load it. What I like to do is now, let's just say we built an app for sales executives to improve their habits and get better sales results. Now I'm going to go to a sales organization, let's just say a sales agency, and I'm going to sell them 10 seats. Now I've got $1,000 per month product, 10 people at $100 each, and then I'm going to ask them to pay 3 months up front. So now I got a $3,000 price tag on what before was a $5 to $10 product. So you're collecting a 3-month PIF, and you're offering it for $2,500 because you're a homie and these are new and you're a beta customer, whatever. Come up with your reason why. But this is how you go from getting 10, $20 a month, one at a time, to getting thousands of dollars a month up front. So whether you're going to go and sell it B2B, like for example, go sell to sales agencies, or whether you're going to sell it to customers, let me tell you how I would sell this to customers. So $100 a month, guarantee you close one more deal per month, come up with some kind of exciting promise like that. So every quarter that would be $300, and it takes the average salesperson 30 days to close their first deal from using your app, to improve their process. You got a $10 product. Now you're selling it for $100 because you know that it improves the close rate of your closers who use it. And you say, hey, close your first, make this app pay for itself in 30 days, come up with some kind of promise. But by the way you come up with a promise like that is you give the app for free to a bunch of users, like 1,000 users, and be like, hey, I'll let you use it for free as long as you give me a case study after. And then you measure the average time it takes somebody to close their first deal and pay for the product. Then you make your promise just a little easier than that. So let's just say it takes the average closer 15 days to close their first deal using your app. Well, you give 30-day guarantee. Okay, we promise that you can close a new deal within 30 days and make this product pay for itself. Okay, just a little sales psychology for you. So now it's $100 a month. Okay, and since these sales guys work mostly in quarters, let's just say it's $300 a quarter. But we're gonna sell that for $200 for the quarter if they pay for it in advance. So boom, now you've doubled your average revenue collected by $100. Now let's also offer an annual option. So instead of $1,200 a year, we're gonna offer it for $500. Now you're gonna be like, dude, you're crazy. Why are you giving up $700 of revenue? First of all, that $700 of revenue never existed. The $500, if that closes, that's the only revenue that ever existed. Second, you got a brand new product. People don't know who you are, don't trust you. They have no reason to believe that your product will actually do good by them. So you got to offer a massive discount. So you got to make it massively compelling for them to sign up for that annual plan. So now, instead of our average order value being $10 a month, we got a mix of 70% going with the $500 annual and 30% going with the $200 quarterly. Average order value of about $350 AOV. And you'll probably be paying about $100 per user acquisition. So now instead of paying $100 to get a user who's paying you $10 a month, now you're getting $100 to get a $350 purchase. So that is how you front load the revenue on your startup and make it so that even if you got a B2C app or a SaaS app that people are paying per seat, you can actually command a massive revenue out of it just through pricing strategies like that. Now, something like this doesn't work unless you have a high functioning onboarding flow, something that activates and engages and educates the users in their first 3 clicks of downloading the app. Tell me where else you're going to hear something like that. The truth is, nobody's going to tell you that because these principles have not been established by anybody else really. I'm the only one who's been just purely launching apps for all these years. I mean, try to find somebody else who's launched 300 plus apps. It doesn't really happen. We're pretty much the only person in this niche. The only other people who have been in this niche are the ones who copied us, and they been changing their programs every few months. So it's obviously not working for them. Obviously it's working for us, right? So these are the strategies that I've observed from looking at all these different apps. This kind of thing happens to all the broad targeting B2C apps. They have low ticket value and bad retention. So this is why you have to front load the revenue capture up front. And this is a great marketing challenge because it challenges you to make it compelling enough that they would put down $300 on the spot. But the truth is I paid that all the time. I have a podcasting software that I paid $1,500 up front, 3 months, $1,500. I have another software that I paid $1,500 for the first month and $1,200 per month after. These are softwares. These are not human services, right? You're talking about a podcasting software and a calling software. So it can be done. It's just a matter of, are you willing to structure your programs in a way that incentivizes people to do that? And how do you do that? Well, you offer 70% off of the annual to capture those conversions up front. You offer a much more compelling reason to go with the bundled or a annual plan up front. This is critical if you're looking to cash flow your app or if you're looking to bootstrap your growth. Now, because a lot of people, let's just say your competitors who raised $10 million in venture capital, they're going to be acquiring those $10 per month customers. Why? Because they can. They can afford to wait 12 months to get their money back, but you can't. You need to get your money back in the first month or in the first week, ideally. This is what what we do is different because my background is in digital marketing. So I'm applying all the digital marketing and sales principles to apps. But the app people's background, Silicon Valley, etc., they come from a product perspective. So they're focused on building awesome products. They're not focused on merchandising those products. And that's why if you apply these merchandising strategies to your product, you have a major advantage. Okay, so front load your revenue. Number 5, onboarding is the most important, but also the most overlooked workflow in new startups. Now, I would say the majority of the startups, somewhere between 80 and 90%, have bad registration rates on their app. Meaning out of 100 users, only 20 register, okay? Now, most people don't even know their numbers. When I ask them, they don't know how many active users they have versus downloaders. And secondarily, 20% registration rate, activation rate, you can never get profitable like that. Why? Because 80% of your customers are getting stuck at the door and not coming inside. So the onboarding and registration experience is incredibly important. I cannot stress this enough. Again, this is also something that I've just observed from doing this so many times. There's not like studies out there. There's not industry standards. There's no white papers around this. This is stuff that we've developed from launching over 350 apps. We keep seeing that they have bad registration rates. And because I have a background in user experience, my undergrad was in UI and UX design. So I'm applying those principles with sales principles: hook, problem, solution, social proof, call to action. I'm applying those two methodologies to the app space, right? So this is a matter of applying range from different industries to this. And again, this is what the competition doesn't have. The guys in Silicon Valley, they don't know the optimal onboarding process. They just go for the stuff that's the lowest friction, when I'm going for the stuff that's generating the most revenue. You see the difference? Like, they're trying to get people to use the app. I'm trying to get people to pay for the app. Again, so that you can monetize it faster, so you can grow faster. All right, so let's talk about how to design an optimal onboarding experience. Now, if you remember from my example earlier, I said hook on screen 1, problem on screen 2, solution on screen 3. 4 is the activation. You can also combine screen 3 and 4. So on the solution screen, you can have them activate, try the magic of the app. By the way, the goal here in the onboarding is to make them feel the magic within just 3 taps. Home screen 1, problem 2, solution 3. 3 taps, they felt the magic of the app. And then after they feel the magic, then you're going to present them with a call to action and some social proof, trusted by 10,000 people just like you, or maybe quotes or testimonials, or even case studies like videos. And then you're going to present the call to action. So on screen 5, that's also where you're going to present the upgrade. Screen 6, what you're going to do on the last screen is you're going to ask them for a referral. This is the viral factor. You're going to ask them to invite a friend. Okay, so let's go into these steps in a little bit more depth. On the hook screen, your whole job here is to just provide absolutely massive value, make it so irresistible, so exciting that they cannot go away from that screen. So when they land on that screen, how to get 10,000 users for your app, right? That's my promise, 10,000 users and 20 investor introductions. That is the exact outcome that founders want. I've tested it. I've tested 100,000, I've tested 1 million users guaranteed, I've tested all kinds of different promises, and 10,000 is the one that performed the best, okay? So I put a massive hook, and then after they say, let's go, they click the button, then you take them to the problem screen. On the problem screen, you're not gonna say, hey, you've got this problem or that problem. You don't wanna talk people into a corner and make them feel bad. Instead, what you wanna do is you wanna get on their side of the table and say, hey, I'm with you. I've been there. I've experienced what you're going through. So instead of saying, what's your problem? We're going to say, what brings you here today? So you're coming at it from like a doctor's approach. Basically, you want them to feel understood. You want them to feel empathy. And you're going to reach out a hand and say, okay, where is it hurting? How bad does it hurt? When does it hurt? Where does it hurt the most? See what I'm saying? So you're trying to build context and care for the user so that they feel understood right in that first experience. This is step 2 in the process, right? So they're feeling the love right away. It's a giving approach versus a taker's approach. A taker's approach just hard pitches, hey, sign up now. A giver's approach says, hey, what's going on? How can I better understand what you're experiencing? How can I curate my solution around what you're experiencing? I like to use this example. Imagine you're going to the doctor and you say, my knee hurts. And he says, I think we're gonna have to amputate it without asking a single question. Obviously, you're gonna be like, dude, what are you talking about? Are you gonna ask me how this happened? Are you gonna ask me when it hurts, how bad it hurts? Are you gonna run some x-rays, some scans? You're gonna get a second opinion? Come on, how could you possibly say that, right? That's how people feel when you pitch them a solution without understanding their problem. So put your emphasis into understanding what brings them there today, okay? You can literally ask the question, what brings you here today? Have 6 buttons, they select the ones that are relevant for them. Next, on the solution screen, then you're gonna present, hey, I see that you're dealing with X, Y, and Z. here's how we can help. Want to get started? Want to try it out? And boom, on that action button, you're going to go ahead and activate that user. Remember the example I gave earlier. If it's a meditation app, hey, I'm coming to reduce my anxiety. Okay, cool. Let's do a mindfulness meditation and let's reduce your anxiety right now. Jump right into a 60-second, right into a 3-minute meditation. Have them try it and feel the magic right there on the spot. Again, this is a shit that nobody is talking about. This knowledge doesn't exist. This only exists in our organization where we're applying it, okay? So you're gonna activate the user next, and then you're gonna move to the call to action screen. Think about the user's emotional journey at this point. You hook their attention, get them super excited. Hey, I can fix your massive problem you've been dealing with for years. And then you're gonna bring them down into the trenches and say, okay, so tell me a little bit more about what's going on. So their emotional level is down here, and then you're gonna solve the problem, and then you're gonna show them the magic, and now their emotion's up here. And that's when you wanna strike. That's when you wanna take action and ask them for the sale. Why? Because think about it. If you can solve their problem in 30 seconds of them downloading the app and they can actually feel the solution, they feel the magic of the app, how compelled are they going to be to convert? This will take an in-app conversion rate for 3% all the way up to 30%. And I'm not exaggerating with that. In some cases, it gets to 30, 40, 50%. I have one app that was like 70% started a free trial just from applying this methodology. So you're going to take them to the call to action screen. On that screen, you're going to do what's called a value stack. So you're going to put the headline in the subhead. Remember, that's going to tell them what they're buying, why they're buying it. And then you're going to put a bullet list of all the benefits that they get. Extra brownie points if you put a dollar value associated with each of those features. For example, if they were to buy them a la carte, how much would they cost? So it's going to be like 10 here, 20 there, 50 there, 60 here. Boom, total value $210, yours today for just $20. You slash it out. And so that is how you present the pricing through a value stack. You're accumulating the value, anchoring it in their mind. Hey, this is worth $210, but you're going to get it today for just $20, okay? That's what makes it irresistible, because they're getting 90% off on the spot. And if you make it realistic, if you're authentic about the numbers, it's believable, and then they have nothing they can really argue with you about. It's like, wow, this is like so damn good. I'm just going to go ahead and give this a try. And plus, remember, we're giving them a 7-day free trial. So even if they're unhappy, even if they already felt the magic and they download it and they register and they start a free trial and they try it out and they still don't like it, they can cancel $0. Never pay a penny. So it's extremely compelling when you present the user journey before that, and then you add the social proof component, and then you add the urgency and the scarcity and the anchoring strategies, the sales strategy, and then boom, you ask them for the sale. Trust me, it's not hard to get a sale on the first user interaction. After that, the user's all excited because they're like, oh my God, I found this habits app that is completely going to transform me, and I'm going to start making way more money off this. I'm going to share it with my whole sales team. Boom. Then you ask them to share it with a friend. How do you get them to share it with a friend? You provide an incentive. So let's just say, again, we're working with a $100 per month habit product for salespeople. You're going to offer them 1 month free for every friend who signs up. So you're going to save them $100 for every friend that they bring to the platform. They may earn 6 months free, but what you're going to earn is $600 in referral revenue of monthly recurring revenue. See how compelling it gets for you? That's what makes apps go viral, when you give them an incentive to share it with their friends, and when they cannot maximize the value of the app until they have shared it. For example, in that same habits app, if you ask them to invite their friends and create a buddy system of 5 people and everybody gets a 20% discount on their bill, boom, they can't maximize the value until they've invited friends to the app. So think about, for your app, what are the incentives that you're giving them to, 1, share with their friends, but 2, how are you bottlenecking the value so that they only maximize the value if they actually invite their friends to the platform? That is how you create viral apps. Okay, you can see I'm a little bit passionate about this part, but just don't overlook the first-time user experience. Don't invest heavily in your marketing until you've got at least some kind of onboarding experience. And don't let your product team release the product until it has an FTUX or an onboarding. Ideally, one that activates users, not just informs the users, but activates them. Remember, gotta feel the magic within 3 taps of downloading the app. The last note about the onboarding experience: do not wait until after launch. If you can avoid it, please do it before you launch. The issue is this: after they have set up the onboarding so that the users can only use the app after they create an account, it makes it very hard to go back and let them try the experience before they buy it. But if the first time you develop, you build that into the actual product so that they can have that, basically that trial experience in the onboarding flow, it's very easy to do before, very difficult to do after launch, because there's all these gating features on the back end that like restrict what a user can see unless they're logged in. So it's much better to do it before than after if you can. That one was a very technical and important one, but you need to know this, okay? Do not skip these. All right, number 6, stop comparing and start creating. As Michael Phelps says, I don't know whether the other guy is ahead of me because I'm not looking over my shoulder. I'm focused on me. That's the mindset you need to be in as a tech founder, especially as a first timer. Focus on you and the product that you're building and your audience, what that customer wants. So quit reading the headlines on TechCrunch and Bloomberg and etc. Oh, so-and-so raises $100 million, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is just fluff. It's just distraction. Here's the reason why, because you never know what situation that founder's in. If that founder came from founding another successful company, yeah, it's going to be easier for them to raise capital. Maybe they just were born with a silver spoon. They got $100 million to their name. You don't know what it is, but either way, the circumstances are different. So you can't really truly compare it to your own circumstances because you're working with a different hand of cards. So focus on you, not them. All it will lead to is distraction. You have to understand that what worked for them will rarely work for you because the inputs are different, because the circumstance of how much capital they had to start, how much experience they had coming into this, what city they live in, all these other things affect how successful a tech founder is. You can't compare yourself to them. And therefore, if you copy their strategies play for play, most likely they're not going to work for you because their strategy is different. You know, if you look at my products, for example, we're targeting tech founders who have raised $1 million in capital plus. If somebody else tries to copy us, but applies it to the wrong audience, for example, the bootstrap or the tech bro audience, two other sub niches in our audience, then their strategy is not going to work for us. Why? Because our custom avatar has his own problems, right? He has his own unique issues going on that we're solving for. And if somebody copies us, they might be solving for the wrong problems for the wrong audience. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want to be copy pasting what your competitors are doing. Of course, you need context for what you're doing. So you want to see what the pricing is and you want to see who they're targeting with their content. But at the end of the day, all this needs to be developed from within as you learn about your audience. So this is why it's important that you do split testing early on so you can see the age, gender, location, and characteristics and interests of your audience so you can build your own audience. You see what I'm saying? Because their audience is going to be slightly nuanced and different than yours. So again, stuff's not going to apply over directly. Let me give you an example of an app that we launched. It's a dating app. They're charging $40 a month. That's pretty expensive if you ask me. And I go to the founder and I'm like, $40 a month for a brand new app with no free trial? Not very convincing. And he says, oh, well, that's what Bumble and Tinder are doing. I'm like, Bumble and Tinder? Those companies are billion-dollar companies with hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. You've raised basically at 1.2 million, and you think that you're going to compete with these guys and command the same price point of companies that have been around for 10 years, who have these user bases of tens of millions of users that they can just sell those, high-ticket priced items to? It doesn't work like that. You can't sell a fresh product off the bat at par with a multi-billion-dollar company who has hundreds of millions of dollars in funding and has tens of millions of users to sell that into the base. They're not even trying to convert cold customers at that $40. They're just trying to convert active users. You see what I'm saying? And you don't have an active user base. So how could you assume that people are going to be willing to pay $40? Well, guess what? Their conversion rate is like 3% and the industry average is 15%. Their conversion rate's 3% and the industry average is 15%. So what did I do? Well, first of all, I recommended a free trial. Put a 7-day free trial in there, let people try it before they buy it. Second, I released a lower ticket product as low as $15 per month so they could get a teaser and taste the greatness of the $40 product without having to actually commit to it yet. And then after they obviously utilize that lower level, then they're going to want to upgrade. This is what I'm talking about. Don't look over your shoulder at what the competition is doing. Yes, know what they're doing, but instead focus on yourself. Focus on your product, your audience, and don't worry so much about what everyone else is doing. Okay, number 7, know what you are going for. It perplexes me and it also saddens me when I talk to founders and they say, yeah, I want 10,000 users, and I ask them why, and they're like, oh, I don't know why, because you said so, or because that's a good amount of users. You have to understand where you're going with this. My why for wanting 10,000 users is because that opens the door to investment. That makes your company essentially investable because it's statistically significant data and proof that your product works. But somebody else might want 10,000 users because they can get profitable at that time. Another person might want 10,000 users because they're building a social app and that's the amount of traffic they need to see the average user engagement time, things like that. Don't go into this not knowing what you're going for. If you're trying to get profitable, build your model around getting profitable. If you're trying to raise capital, build your model around raising capital, around what investors want to see. And another issue I see with people coming into this and not knowing what they're getting themselves into is they will enter an industry. For example, we're launching a daily deals app. Okay, that's a super competitive industry. You got Groupon, you got DoorDash, you got Uber Eats. All of these platforms are competing, and also they're incumbent, established, multi-billion-dollar companies. So they're entering a super competitive and difficult industry, and they're surprised when it's not easy. Well, I could have told you that from the beginning. That's what I'm saying. People got to understand what they're getting themselves into and understand what the outcome that you're looking for is. If it's a daily deals app, let's just take that one for example. Their conversion rate is above the average in the industry, but they're still not making enough money to really reinvest in the marketing. Why? Because it costs a lot to acquire customers in this industry. You see what I'm saying? So you got all these dynamics that if you don't understand that and you just go into it blindly, you're in for a rude awakening. I commend you for being here and watching this video because this is how you get aware of these things. So just one more thought on industries. Fitness, daily deals, habits apps, all these industries are unnecessarily difficult. If you're going to launch in those industries where there's already mature competition, you're going to have to go for a sub-segment, right? So look for a niche within a niche. So maybe it's, like I said before, salespeople using habits apps or pregnant moms doing fitness. You see what I'm saying? So you want to decrease the audience size initially so that you can get a better foothold. Just remember this, the sexier the industry, the more difficult it is to run a company in that. So if you got to go and work in the trash processing business, do that. But I can tell you right now, it's probably going to be easier than the fitness business. Just at the end of the day, you got to know what you're going for. Whether you're going for investment, whether you're going for profitability or something else, know it before you get into it. Before you spend any money launching your app, know what the goal is so you can have an easy marker to determine whether you've been successful with that. Number 8, do it for you, not for them. You have to understand that you're going to get hit with hard facts like you're not a good product designer, you're not a good UX designer, you're not a good marketer. That's what the data is going to tell you early on as a first timer. And you don't want to take that to heart. Instead, what you want to do is take that into processing and use that as feedback for becoming better yourself, but also developing a better product. It's super common that I see these founders, especially the older guys like 50 plus, where they say, I don't want to learn how to do it. I just want you to do it and bring me the results. Now, I can completely respect that from an executive perspective. That is the way to lead. But the issue is that they don't even understand the results that they're looking for. Remember, because they don't know what they're going for. I can tell them, but it doesn't add the conviction to their heart. It doesn't add the grit and dedication that they might be lacking because they don't understand why they're actually doing it. When you get hard lessons, and there will be hard lessons, trust me, and they still happen to me every day, simply learn from it fast and move on. Just got to keep putting forward. That daily deals app that I was telling you about before, the founder's unhappy with it because he's like, hey, we're just not getting enough action in the app. I'm like, you're actually outperforming the competition on the in-app activity. You just don't have enough users on the platform, which is okay. Yeah, that could be perceived as a problem, but at the end of the day, every app's got that problem. Not enough users, right? So go out and get more users. And whenever you run into a rude awakening or a cold shower moment, as I like to call them, I want you to take a step back and reflect on it. I intentionally take time out of the office. For example, this past weekend, I was away for 3 days on a retreat, and I didn't want to leave work because I have a lot going on, but I actively stepped away so that I could take time to reflect. Reflecting is really critical to learning from your experiences, especially when you make a fumble or you have a mistake. You have to take time to reflect on it. Don't just barrel through and skip over it and numb the pain by going and doing something else. At the end of the day, investors, advisors, employees, vendors, contractors, marketing agencies, dev agencies, all of them can help, but nobody can do what you do. You're the visionary. You're the one who has to set the foundation and set the vision for the company. So until you're clear on that, they're not going to have any leadership to follow. And on that same token, ultimately, you are accountable. The buck stops with you. So do your due diligence, understand what you're getting yourself into, understand what you're looking for out of this, understand the industry that you're getting into so that you're not caught blindsided and then you feel bad and feel like you need to pivot or pull the plug. At the end of the day, any app can succeed. You just need to know how to navigate these challenges. Number 9, really important one. Do not skip this one. Focus all your energy on removing the biggest key constraint in the business right now. So let's just say revenue is your main issue. You have 0 revenue. And in order to get revenue, you need users. How many users? At least 1,000, assuming your conversion rate's like 10%, that's 100 customers. So all your energy should be focused on getting users so that you can start converting those into revenue. After you get those first 1,000 users on there, you're going to see the conversion rate and you're going to be able to decide, hey, is this profitable enough? Do I need to work on improving my in-app conversion rate? Something like that. And then that will lead you to the next constraint. So what I want you to do is not focus just your energy on removing the biggest constraint. I want you to focus everybody's energy in the company on removing the biggest constraint. So let's just say your conversion rate is the main issue. It's at 1% and you need to get it up to 5%. Okay, your engineers are going to implement the changes. You are going to design better pricing. Your marketers are going to give you the data on how much people are converting, which screens are converting more effectively than others. And then everybody is going to concentrate their effort on removing that bottleneck, which is the conversion rate. So dedicate all of your resources. Think about it like this. If you take a piece of paper outside into the sunlight, you put it in the sun, it's not going to catch on fire, right? Bring a magnifying glass over it and you focus all the sun's energy on one little point on the paper. That paper will actually catch on fire. fire. That's the effectiveness of focusing on one constraint and placing all of your team's focus on it. Focusing on one constraint and placing all of your team's energy in it. We used to do quarterly rocks at my business, which is basically quarterly goals. And what would happen is everybody will wait until the last 2 weeks of the quarter to go start working on their rocks. So what we did was we switched it around and we said, okay, instead of everybody working on different rocks, we're all going to work on one rock at a time. For example, building a video onboarding for our new founders coming into our program. Each person is going to do a different video in this onboarding series. I'm going to design the sequence. My media buying team is going to bring me the users and the data to test it. And the different people within the company are going to each design their own part of that experience. What ended up happening was our first rock, we knocked it out in 1 week. Our second rock, we knocked it out in 1 day. The next rock that we're working on, which is like this master database for the company, that one's going to take us about 2-3 weeks, but we're putting all of our company's effort into it. Imagine if I was working on that database by myself over the course of 9 months, right? So we go from 9 months down to like 3 weeks to attack something and really resolve that issue in the business. So that's a key one. Not just identify the main constraint in the business, but focus all yours and your team's energy and effort into solving that block and removing it. Don't do multiple things at once until you have team members dedicated to each. But even in that situation, I still recommend everyone's effort being focused on the key constraint in the business, because when it comes to tech companies, there's a product component, there's a development component, there's a marketing component, there is a leadership component to every challenge in the company. So everybody will have a role in solving that particular constraint. All right, let's keep moving here. Number 10, don't keep adding new features for fuck's sake. Stop bolting on new features. Just stop. This is why AI is toxic for your product roadmap. There is no boundaries, no stopping points, no considerations, no withholding. It's just whatever you can dream up, whatever you can type into a chat automatically becomes a new feature on your app. The users didn't ask for it. You're not testing it along the way as you build it with real-time user testing. You're not putting it in market. When you do this, what happens is you go from having a single function app to adding like 3, 4, 5 other features. And then what the user sees is a confusing app. All you're doing when you add new features to the app is confusing the user. Each app should solve one problem. If you want it to be easy to make conversions, it needs to be easy to explain to the users. So input, output, problem, solution. One problem, one solution. Don't put 5, 10 different solutions to one problem. Just solve that one key problem first. And if your product does not solve a problem that's exciting enough for people to sign up and pay for, you need to go back to the drawing board and figure out something that they actually do care about that's valuable to them. You got to understand, every new feature that you add adds a requirement for user education on that feature, okay? So in theory, if you put 6 features in the app, in the onboarding, you're not teaching them how to use the app, you're teaching them how to use 6 apps. You see what I'm saying? And this is where people have retention problems. This is where people have issues where people aren't utilizing the features, or maybe they're not upgrading for the premium because they don't know what all these different features are. So stop piling on the feature. Only build new features as the users request them. You got 1,000 users on the app, people are saying, hey, I need to have a calendar function in here. You got over 100 people asking for it, okay, go build that feature. But don't just build it off of gut feeling. That's how apps get calcified, and it becomes very difficult to improve the product because they got very complex backends. They end up crashing because the app is carrying so much data. It's difficult to build new features because you got all these crossing wires on the back end. Look, I could go on for days. Just stop piling on features. Focus on the one core function and making that work. Number 11, use transformational leadership. First of all, what is transformational leadership? Transformational leadership is when you delegate to the team member or the subordinate and you tell them the goal and you hold them to that goal, but you do not show them what to do. You don't get in there and say, okay, I want to build these 10 ad creatives. I'm going to go ahead and write them for you right here on the spot so you can learn from me doing it. No. You're going to say, you take a swing at it. You do those 10 ad creatives and then you see what you come up with and you bring me that. So transformational leadership is all about transferring the energy and the processing from you, the leader, to the teammate. Why? Because that allows the teammate to learn. If you do it yourself and have them watch, what ends up happening is you're depriving them the experience of learning, and then they never actually learn how to do it. People don't learn by observing, they learn by doing. So yeah, you can show them how to do it, but they need to practice it and do it right there on the spot with you. And this is something that I struggled with for a long time because I figured, oh, I'm going to be that cool boss who gets down there in the trenches with you and actually does the work with you and whatever. It's all BS. Don't do it. Instead, say, here is 100% clear expectations. This is what I need from you. I need it back in 7 days, and I want 3 options of how to solve this, okay? So they're going to go back and get to work, and they're going to come up with 3 potential solutions to the problem. And then they're going to tell you their most recommended one, and then you're going to tell them, go put that to work. That is how you manage people, not by willy-nilly, oh, go do this, and can you help me with that? No, you need to be crystal clear on what you want out of your teammates before you ask them. If you're not crystal clear on it, first of all, you're going to pay for it later because they're going to build the incorrect solution for what you're looking for because you didn't provide them clarity. But if you can't get to a state of clarity, that means you don't understand it well. So go back to ChatGPT, go to your AI. This is a good time to use AI. Be like, hey, if I want to build this features, what considerations should I look at? What things should I tell the developers? What are the potholes that I might be missing as a first-time founder. This is where AI is super valuable. Get knowledge on what you're doing before you ask somebody else to do it. This is why the person who's done the job before you, the person who's done the job before is a much better manager than the one who hasn't done it. So don't be afraid of education. Don't be afraid of learning. I see this problem all the time, especially with my older founders who are like 50 plus. They don't want to learn the marketing. They don't want to learn product strategy and all this kind of stuff. And what ends up happening is they just become a bad boss to their team because they don't understand what they're actually doing and they can't make realistic asks. They also can't provide clarity. So a lot of issues there. Get super clear on what you want. And if you're going through the hiring process, you're going to want to bring 3 people to the finish line so you can have a good, better, best. And then when you go to make that hire, you're going to say, I'm going to give you each a test project. I'll pay you $20 an hour and you have up to 7 hours to do this project, and have 3 people do it. And then the one that comes back the strongest, that's who you hire. Don't hire, instead test them. You try it before you buy it. Okay? Very careful strategy when it comes to hiring. Bottom line, never micromanage people. Let them do it, make their own mistakes, and learn from it. It will develop your staff so much faster, and it will save you a ton of time because you're not doing everything anymore. Okay, number 12, give an absolute value smash to the tune of 10x. What do I mean? Value smash, that's my way of saying just provide massive value to the users. Give them 10 times more value than they're paying for. So let's just go back to this Habits app that helps the closers earn an extra $1,000 a month. $1,000 plus a month because they're closing more deals. Yeah, you could charge $1,000 for it because, well, in theory, it pays for itself after they close their first deal. But instead, we're going to sell it to them for $100. That way, off the bat, they're getting 10 times the value. And you can even put $1,000 slashed out on that payment screen. But the idea is you want to set the anchor pricing, how much it's worth, and then you want to set the actual pricing to 1/10 of that. That's your mental homework of how do I create value for these users. I want to offer something that's worth $1,000, but I want to sell it for $100. I want to offer something that's worth $100, but I want to sell it for $10. So if your competition is outselling it for $40, go back to that dating app example I gave you earlier. If they're selling it for $40, you sell it for $4. How much better conversion rate you think you're going to have at $4 than they're going to have at $40? That's how you get a competitive edge on your competitors. And remember, it costs you nothing to give software away cheaper. It costs you nothing to offer a discount in the beginning. But what it does get you is it gets you more conversions, which means more learning, more insights, more customers to talk to. At the beginning, you want as many paying customers as possible at whatever price point. The only reason I wouldn't give it away for free is because people don't use stuff that they get for free. So you have to command like at least $5 out of people to actually get them engaged with your app. So the place that I like to deliver the massive value is in the onboarding. Show them how awesome the app is, and then show them that you're only charging 10% of what it's worth. Then you're going to give them a free trial so they can actually put it to work and get the value from it. Boom. Now you're getting like a triple threat value smash on them. Free trial, 10% of the actual value, and they've already gotten the value of it from the onboarding. At the end of the day, the count of conversions that you get is way more important than the revenue, the total revenue that you make early in the life of an app. The most important metric when you're launching an app is how many paying customers you have, the count of people who gave you $1 or more, because that is going to educate your Facebook pixel or your ads pixel to find you more of those customers. There is two groups of people out in the marketplace, ones who buy stuff and ones who don't buy this stuff. If you're marketing to get free users, those customers are never going to turn into paying customers. You have to understand that. The only customers who will ever buy are the ones that actually buy things. And so you need to be marketing from the precedent of getting revenue from those users right from the beginning with every app. Now, that doesn't mean charge every user who downloads your app. It just means place monetization as a priority at the forefront. After people get the value of the app, they're asked to sign up for a paid one. The parting thought I want to leave you with on that is you want them to think twice because the value is so good. You want to be like, oh my God, they're offering this for just $100? See what I'm saying? It'd be like offering to sell you my G-Wagon for $1,000. You'd be like, you're really going to let go of your $100,000 car for $100 to me? Hell yeah, I'll take it. That's the mindset that you want the users in. And the way you create that perception is through driving up the value. So remember the pricing strategy, the onboarding, all that kind of stuff. Okay, number 13, set up weekly KPI trackers for every department in the business. What I like to do is I like to have a spreadsheet. On the rows, I will put the KPIs. So that would be impressions and reach, clicks, downloads, registrations, free trials, paid, and then transactions, like number of purchases, and revenue, okay? What I just described to you, that's the full funnel of an app, okay? Somebody sees it on Facebook ads or Instagram organic, they click, then they go to the App Store and they download, and so on. So you want each of those KPIs in a stack on the left side of your spreadsheet. On the y-axis, on the columns, you're gonna put dates, okay? And you're gonna put the weeks. So each column is 1 week. What you're gonna do is each week, you're gonna report the data. Okay, we got 100,000 impressions, we got 1,000 1,000 clicks, we got 200 downloads, we got 80 registrations, and we got 20 free trials, for example. That would be like a regular week of data, right? And then I want you to come back to this spreadsheet every week and meet as a team if you have a team. If you don't have a team, you just meet with yourself. You set up a time on the calendar and you say, I'm going to review this data at this time. And what you're going to review in that weekly tracker is you're going to see, first of all, where's the constraint in the business? Is my registration rate 20%? Industry is 60%. Why is it at 20%? Is it my cost per install is $10 when my competitors are paying $1 per install? So what you're going to look for is the main constraint in the business. And then on that marketing meeting, in this case marketing, but you can do this with product and with HR and finance and all these other different departments. But anyway, you're going to measure the biggest constraint, and then that's what you're going to strategize as a team about. Okay, so our click-through rate is too low. It's not 0.9. It needs to get up to 1.5% to make this profitable. We need to get 60% more clicks, okay? So that call you're going to dedicate to figuring out what are ways that we can increase the click-through rate. Of course, that's going to be coming up in new creative, new hooks, new messaging, blah, 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 stronger call to actions. And then you're going to put that below those columns, and you're going to say the action is 10 new hooks, 10 new ads. And the next week, that task is due. So between now and next Wednesday, which is our marketing meeting we do on Wednesdays, you got to build those 10 ads before the next meeting. So everybody who gets assigned an action item has to do it before the next meeting. Gives everybody 1 week to get their tasks done. And what you'll see over time is you'll be able to see trends. Okay, after we did those new ads, our click-through rate went from 0.9 to 1.1, and then the next week it went to 1.2, and now it's at 1.5. Okay, that worked. Okay, or maybe it went down. Maybe now we're getting a 0.8% click-through rate. Okay, we need to try something else. That didn't work. So you have to have a rigorous structure where you're measuring your data every week and you're understanding the actual metrics of your business so that you can identify that top constraint. Remember, your focus at any given time as a founder should be on the top constraint in the business. If you want to use my KPI tracker, just comment KPI tracker below and I will send it to you for free. No cost, no problem. I just gave you an example of the product and the marketing stack, but you can also do that for sales pipelines. You can do that for product development roadmaps. You can do that for your actual product, like how much users are using the app and different user journeys and stuff like that. I love these weekly KPI trackers. I have them for every aspect of the business. Basically, every department head has a KPI tracker that I'm tracking. Okay, number 14, give customers what they want, not what you think they want. At the end of the day, what makes an app succeed is picking one simple problem and providing one simple solution to it. By the way, simple does not imply easy. In fact, it implies refinement. So therefore, it's more difficult. When you go to pick that problem that you're going to solve for that customer, ideally, you would have experience in that industry. I love to use this example, a company called ClaimScope. Basically, you take photos of the damage on your house, a tree fell on your roof and you need to send it to insurance. ClaimScope takes like 30 hours of work and does it in 30 minutes. Analyzes it, writes a description and writes a whole case for submitting a claim. That product got profitable its first week in business as soon as we launched it. Why? Because that's not another fitness app that's going to help you do more push-ups. That's not just some broad market app. That is something that somebody who works at FEMA built because they kept seeing that claims was a clunky process and it took too long. So what they did was they solved an industry problem that was already occurring in their experience. That is the best way to build product. If you have personally experienced that issue and you feel passionate about it, that's where you're going to get the real gold. But the problem is most founders build what they think the users want, and they end up building more and more features when the users aren't using it because they're thinking they're not building enough features, they're not building what the people actually want. And then that's how the apps get so calcified, like I've been saying. But what ends up happening is the users just get confused. So instead, what I want you to do is I want you to watch the data. Remember the KPI tracker that we created in the last one. And I want you to kill the shit features. Kill the stuff that is not getting good engagement, that's not providing good value to the users. And you're going to remove or optimize any screens that have a high bounce rate. Lastly, you can't understand what your customers want. One, if you don't have the data like we just talked about, but two, you have to be talking to them. The data is the quantitative, talking to people is the qualitative. So run surveys, call people up, invite them to the office. When I was founding my first fitness app, I had people come into my office and I conducted an interview and I recorded it with their permission. And they loved to do it. They felt excited to be a part of the product development journey with me. It can be done. You need to call, text, SMS, email, whatever you need to do. Direct message them, send surveys out, get in contact with them, ask them, be like, hey, I'll give you a month free if you take a phone call with me where I can understand what problems you're having with our app or whatever else it is. Founders all the time tell me, oh, I can't get a hold of my users, not answering me. I don't give a fuck, with all due respect. Figure it out. You cannot build the product without talking to your customers. I cannot build a good experience for founders coming into my programs unless I'm talking to the founders every day. That's why I still do my weekly group call with all the founders on the ground level, learning from their challenges every day. I'm reading between their lines. I'm watching how they respond. I'm looking at their facial expressions. That's the kind of nuance you need to understand about your customers. I know our customers so well. We have 2 core audiences. I know everything about those customers. When I get on the phone with them, they always fit into those two segments for me. And I can even tell that person about themselves before I even know them. That's how well I know my customer, because the data just shapes up that way. That's how well you need to know your customers. So get in contact with them, call them, be annoying. Don't worry about being annoying. Just reward them if you feel like you're being annoying. Okay, lastly, number 15, opt to upset people rather than please them. As they say, no woman made history by following the rules. Same goes for guys or for founders or for whoever else. You doing what your vendors ask you to do, you doing what your employees tell you to do, you doing what your investors tell you to do, none of it's a recipe for success. You are the visionary, and you are also the Incredible Hulk who's busting through walls and breaking things and making them happen. It is you who has to set the precedent. It is you who has to take action. So by nature, some people are going to get upset. Some people's feelings are going to get hurt. Some people are going to get fired. Some people are going to cause issues in other ways. You have to be okay with that right from the beginning. Let me give you an example. I have a founder who is paying his sales guy $150,000 a year, and all of that is base salary and none of it is commission. And I said, and by the way, that founder's running out of runway. And he's like, hey, what do I do? And I'm like, well, first of all, you put your salespeople on a commission basis, right? Like that's like table stakes. That's basic level knowledge when it comes to starting a company. He doesn't want to do it. He said, oh, I can't go back and renegotiate with him. He's a high value catch. I can't just do that. And I'm like, yes, you can. In my mind, I'm thinking, why are you being a pussy? Like, just go do it. What's the excuse? Come on. You cannot compensate a salesperson on salary. It does not work. Read as many studies, look at as many case studies as you want. It does not work. He's more concerned with how he looks or even losing that piece of talent than he is with making the company succeed. And therefore, he's bleeding $10K a month to it. Don't let that happen to you. So how you're going to want to do this is you want to set clear expectations right from the beginning with your team, and then you're going to enforce the hell out of them. Exactly what you asked them for is exactly what you're going to expect out of them. And you're going to do it nicely and you're going to do it respectfully, but you're going to be persistent and consistent. You're always going to be asking them for exactly what they themselves committed to. If you don't know what to ask for, if you don't know how to set clear expectations, you need to get to work and research that. Ask your AI, ask ChatGPT, ask your Gemini, ask, hey, as a person managing a marketing agency, as a person managing a dev team in India, what are the cultural nuances that I need to understand to effectively manage these people? It's going to tell you, you need to write product requirement documents. You need to understand that they have a lot of holidays. You're going to need to understand that they work the opposite hours that you do. These are things that don't go through people's minds, and then they end up basically eating it on the back end. So you can't hold your team accountable until you've set clear expectations. And once you set clear expectations, you holding them accountable and being willing to upset people is completely acceptable, because they can't complain to anybody but themselves. They committed to it. They agreed to it. You hold them responsible for it. Whatever you do, do not accept shit just because you are afraid to rock the boat. Again, no founder made history without rocking the boat, without breaking some glasses along the way. So in closing, I want you to remember this. Anyone can build an app, especially with AI today. That is not the hard part anymore. Building a real company behind the app is what makes a company successful and what separates the ones who win from the ones who lose. And the better of a CEO that you become, the faster the app will take off on its own. So if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe so that I stay motivated to keep putting this content out and dedicating my time, energy, and money to producing it for you. If nothing else, I hope that this has provided you some actionable insights you can get to work on today. Otherwise, I'll look forward to seeing you around.